the major choice, I think, that people have to make in deciding to set up a special needs trust is who is going to serve as trustee. The trustee is absolutely vital to the operation of the trust because the trustee controls everything about the trust. They control what money comes in, what money goes out, what things get paid, how money is spent, how money is invested, all of those types of things. That's up to the trustee. And because the trustee controls the purse strings, they can obviously have a great impact on the quality of life and independence of the person with disabilities for whom the trust is set up. So you want to make sure that whoever serves as the trustee is trustworthy beyond question. I can't emphasize that enough. Pick up the paper, go on the internet. You'll see all the time stories of guardians, stories of trustees taking off with people's money, leaving them high and dry, and spending trusts down inappropriately. You don't want that to happen. A trustee is required to comply with the law, make sure that the trust is administered properly, make sure that the money in the trust is invested prudently. We're required to do all of those things. But you can buy that type of stuff. You can buy financial advice. You can buy money management services. You can buy legal advice as to whether or not you can spend something or whether you can't. You can buy all that. You can't buy trustworthiness. So you may have a choice in deciding who may serve as trustee between someone who you're not really sure if they're trustworthy or not, but they've got an awful lot of financial knowledge. They're just a whiz on Wall Street. But they've probably cut corners, or you may even know that they've cut corners to get where they are, versus somebody who may not have a clue about financial matters or legal matters, but you know that they would take a bullet for you in a heartbeat, and take a bullet for your kid in a heartbeat. Choose this person over here. Choose the trustworthy person. Because again, you can buy financial stuff. You can buy legal stuff. You can't buy trustworthiness. Now, parents often make logical first trustees of trusts, of special needs trusts, because typically most of the stuff that will happen with a special needs trust really doesn't start happening until the parents pass on, their estate goes into the trust, and then for the first time, typically, there's a lot of money in the trust. And then who comes after the parents as the alternate trustees, the successor trustees, you need to make those, you need to use those types of standards in deciding who will serve in those capacities. And I suggest naming as many people as possible because, again, it's best for you to have that control up front and you be able to exercise that kind of decision-making versus, again, it going before a judge who may not know anything about you or your family, but who may be required to appoint somebody in that position to keep the trust going. You don't want that to happen. So you can list a lot of alternate trustees. Now, I want to talk for a moment about the roles of families and friends or professionals who may be involved in the life of a person with disabilities, commonly referred to as trust advisors or trust protectors. Now, this is an area that is completely optional, and a lot of attorneys don't use it. But this is an area that I think can really, really be very effective in making the trust as effective an advocacy tool, as effective a tool for improving quality of life and ensuring the greatest degree of independence as possible for persons with disabilities. Because what you can do through the use of trust advisors or trust protectors, you can make sure that the person with disabilities will have built into their life the involvement of loved ones, of friends, family members, and or professionals who know them, who care about them, and who have their best interests at heart. Now, again, this is completely voluntary, and the powers of trust advisors can vary dramatically. But here's an example. You may have a Sister Sally, and Sister Sally is intimately involved in your life, in your kids' lives. She's in and out of your house, all the time, all day, every day. Sister Sally would do whatever was best for your kids if you weren't around. You want your kids to go live with her. You know that she loves them and she treats them just like her own kids. Okay? But you wouldn't trust Sister Sally with 50 cents to go down to the corner and buy a newspaper. Okay? That's not someone you want to name as trustee of the trust. But it is somebody who you would want to name as a trust advisor. Because you want, if you're not there, to be able to do these things for your child, you want somebody who will be there to do these kinds of things, to look out for their best interest, to make sure that they have the highest quality of life, that they have as much independence as possible, that they will be loved just as if you weren't there, or to the greatest extent possible. You want those folks involved in your life, and you can require that in the trust. You can say, for instance, I want my Sister Sally to make all the decisions about where my kids live. And trustee, you are required to follow those decisions, and you're required to provide resources to comply with my sister's decisions about where my kids live. Or you could say, trustee, I trust your judgment. You can make the final call, but you're not really involved in my kids' lives. I want them to live with Sally, and I want you to go talk to Sally 3 or 4 times a year to get her input on what's best and what does my child with disabilities need. What is best for them? You can make the final call, but you need to go talk to Sally to really get that kind of hands-on input. You can do that. You can say, for instance, okay, my child with disabilities is seeing a certain group of professionals or doctors for a certain type of therapy or medical treatments. You can mandate in the trust that continue as long as it's practical. You can require that the trustee either do this themselves or provide somebody to do it who will be out there looking for cutting-edge treatments, cutting-edge drugs, cutting-edge therapies for your loved one's particular disability, so that the stuff that you're doing now, likely at 2 o'clock in the morning after the kids are in bed and you're sitting in front of the computer in your underwear looking on the internet for all of these types of things, those things, you can make sure that there is somebody out there still doing that, even though you're not around. And again, those are the types of things that you can put into the trust to make it an incredible tool for quality of life and for independence for your loved one with disabilities. And again, if you have any questions about whether or not something is allowed, put it down on paper and go ask your lawyer, and they'll be able to tell you. And they will be able to frame it appropriately so that it is permissible.